What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another video. Behind me I have on the table the Billet K-Tune TSX shifter box with the bracket to run onto the B-Series all-wheel drive transmission, as well as the race cables. We're gonna go ahead and start installing this onto my car, the all-wheel drive B-Series CRX. If you guys aren't familiar with the channel, it is a nitrous stroker all-motor non-VTEC build. It made 186 horsepower all-motor and 321 horsepower on a 150 shot. So it's a nice little fun car and a light CRX, so it definitely boogies. And given that we're going to put the shifting mechanism in it now by K-Tune, I know it's going to be a lot funner to drive. So basically, it pretty much varies car to car exactly how your setup is in terms of like intake and wiring and whatnot. But for our car, we're going to start off by taking off the intake tube right here. I've already loosened it, so that's just going to come off right there. And I do have this run through the headlight. Basically pull that out of the way. As for the wiring of the car, I really do have to clean up all of this. I'll probably do that after the install video of the shifter. But I do still have the cables on from the previous setup, which was the OEM shifter cables that you guys saw in the other video. I have the OEM bracket right there as well. I already have it taken off. The bracket is taken off as well. So from the top end, we are loose, ready to go. I'm just gonna go onto the bottom of the car and actually show you how I have it ran. Some people say to run it through the firewall. Other people say to run it underneath the car. From what I've read for K-Series swapped CRXs, as well as H-Series swapped, a lot of people run it exactly how I have it right now, which is, let me see if I can show you on camera. I have my cables right there in the exhaust tunnel, which obviously I have my drive shaft right below it, and that goes over the sway bar and subframe, and then that leads up into the engine bay over the T-bracket to the actual transmission itself. Let me show you again, right there. So we are just going to be pulling that out. Before I do that, I need to take the shifter itself out, the OEM shifter, from out of the car. And I have that just bolted onto the exhaust tunnel using just regular 4 bolts. They are kind of dirty right now from all the debris from underneath the car, but you can see the shifters right there. But for this setup, we are going to be using the shifter plate on the bottom. That way we can have a nice clean setup on how we actually mount it to the car. Since this is the CRX, I still have the OEM CRX center console. I am going to remove this right now. It's just basically a couple Phillips head screws on the corners, how I have it held up. Then we can go ahead and start removing the shifter itself. And from that point forward, we can start mocking up the new shifter. Alright, so the shifter is unbolted from the bottom. It's kind of hard because I had to set the wrench on top and then do it from the bottom, and the wrench kept on slipping off. That's why you see me coming up and down a whole bunch of times. But it should, yep, just pull out right there. Obviously, I'll keep these bolts. If you guys don't already have a bolt bucket, go ahead and start one now, because you never know when you're going to need certain bolts. Like, I think these are even standard thread. I don't think they're even measured. I just got them at the hardware store. But it always comes in handy to have extra bolts. What I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to take off the shift cables, so it's a little easier to take the whole shifter out. That one just pulls off right there. And holding the camera is a little hard, but there's the clip off of that one right there. The camera's not really focusing. And then I have the bottom one as well. Basically just has these little spring tabs on the side. And you got to push these off to the side and then pull the actual cable off from the bottom. But over here in the tunnel, we have these 2 threaded holes basically, which is what the shifter plate is going to go sitting on top of. So yeah, I'm just going to pull this out real quick and pull the cables out from under, and then show you once we start putting the plate on. I have a little bit more of light in it right now in the car, so just want to show you the clips. These are basically like sprung onto the outside, you have to pull this off to the side and basically push that clip back, and then you can easily remove it from the shifter. This, I have it cut into the center console. Of course, I'm having so much focusing issues. I have the center console cut right there, basically for the cables to actually go under the car. A little further forward from that, there's a hole in the floor. It goes under and then over the sway bar. So I am gonna just pull this through that hole back out right now. I'm gonna go under the car and do that, and then actually pull the whole cables out. But just wanted to show you how I have it routed, essentially right through there. The old shifter. Man, look at the difference with this. Look at the difference. Holy crap. It's like you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. While I have all the shifters out, I just wanted to do like a side-by-side comparison. Starting on this side, we have what was in the car, the first generation OEM CRV all-wheel drive B-Series shifter. I think this is the same exact one that also comes in the manual transmission front-wheel drive CRV, so they're interchangeable. Now right here we have the Accord/TSX OEM shifter box. It's very similar in design to the K-Tune product. Obviously, this is what replaces the OEM component when you're doing swaps and whatnot. But right here, let me go back to this one. If you use this in your all-wheel drive B-Series, you're still going to need a few things. You're going to need to make a custom bracket onto the transmission, weld on plates and whatnot, and then somehow find a way to mount the OEM cables onto that. Now, when you're doing the K-Tune, basically, this is 100% bolt-on, especially since we're using the shifter plate or the mounting plate. If I didn't want to cut the tunnel like I already had, we could just set this right over top of it. With the K-Tune billet box, the TSX Accord, between that and the custom K-Tuned, which is now available by the way, all-wheel drive B-Series bracket for the cables, this is literally a bolt-on component, and you don't have to deal with this nasty CRV box which has these worn cables, always gives out problems and whatnot, only available for a few years. The thing I hate most about it is this nasty bend. Look at this. It's not even straight, it's offsetted to the left if you're looking at it from where you'd be sitting, because this is how you want to drive in a CRV. If you're not familiar with how CRVs look on the inside, you essentially have a really tall seat. It's a little bit taller, not a little bit, maybe like 3 or 4 inches taller than an Integra seat, which Integra seats are already pretty tall as they are, that and the EK seats as well. So you're about this high off the ground, and the shifter sits a little bit higher on the floor than the lowest part, but you have basically, here, let me show you with this K-Tune box as like a demonstration. You have it offsetted inside of the car, so that's why they put the bend, so you feel like you're just shifting a regular car, but the bend is perfect for when you're in such a tall seat. When we swap them into these cars, it's super uncomfortable. I'm super high shifting, and it's just, the bend makes you think weird. Like, you're used to slamming gears forward and backwards, but the bend like puts another equation in your mind, and you're like, I can't shift this. It's really strange. Anyways, I'm going to unbolt this right here because we have it bolted onto the actual shifter plate, the box onto the plate. That way we can start mounting the plate. I want to make sure that I have to drill a few holes in the correct spots, and then I'll show you once we have that going. So here's our tunnel. Like I mentioned, you don't need to cut this. This is just what I did before because I didn't want to have to get a nice plate for the OEM shifter. But now that we have the nice shifter, the nice plate is definitely a necessity to make it look beautiful. So we have the 2 bolts that go right there. Essentially sits over where the OEM tunnel would go with the OEM lip. And these 2 bolts are going to go onto these threaded spots. This is essentially what's going to hold your OEM B-Series or D-Series shifter. Goes like that, and then once we have these bolted on firmly, we're going to drill out the holes for the front. This is just other holes that I had for the other shifter, but we're going to find exactly where it goes, drill out the holes, and using the provided K-Tune hardware, we have bolts with nylon nut locking nuts. So that way we can bolt it on nice and firmly, make sure that the plate's never gonna move. That's bolted onto the provided spots. Now I just gotta do the holes in the front. Alright, so we're ready to use the hardware. It's gonna be, like I said, I only have one hand with me, gonna be a little more difficult. I'll probably just set the ratchet without the extension, obviously, and have it wedge up against something, and then from the bottom actually thread on the nuts and tighten them down, since I don't have another hand. The base plate is on, and given that it's bolted with 4 bolts, this thing is super sturdy, so that's perfect right there. I'm gonna bring over the shifter box itself right now, start setting it into place. I'm really curious as to if it's gonna fit under the center console. If not, I'll just cut out the necessary space, because I want to keep the center console because of the sides right there, but I obviously want the beautiful shifter to be seen. So yeah, we're gonna try mounting that right now and show you what we find. Here's the shifter pretty much in place. I went ahead and put the transmission bracket as well. I was just a little easier to do with both hands instead of holding the camera. I'm sorry about that. But it does have basically these little risers that they're impossible to mix up. There are 3 different ones. No riser on one side, high riser, and then the short riser in the back to hold the actual bracket on. Now I just have them loosely placed at the moment. I haven't tightened down the cables onto the bracket at all. I haven't even put the clips on the top of it because I am still moving things around. I just wanted to get that kind of like a test fit. Have it routed under the car like I showed you guys earlier in the video. And right here, now I'm just gonna go ahead and bolt on the shifter itself and get the cables on as well. All right, shifter is in, cables are on. Shifts into every gear perfectly, reverse even, and I can still adjust the cables and everything. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to get used to how to drive it and how exactly I want it. The one thing that I did notice, the center console isn't fitting over it, so what I am going to do right now is just cut it. It's basically hitting right here and right here, since the shifter is a lot bulkier than the OEM one and a little bit taller as well. So I'm just going to basically cut along the line right there and then just open it up a little bit. Let's see how it works. I never thought about cutting one of these, so it's not like I had in mind already how I wanted to do it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start cutting it, and hopefully it comes out nice. All right, good to go. Alright, so that came out pretty decent. This is just the rough cut. I'm going to clean this up afterwards, make it nice and clean. But that should fit the shifter perfectly. Just going to test fit it real quick. It's almost on there. It looks like the center portion is what's actually going to prevent it from sitting all the way. And I kind of wanted to keep this right here so I could just like throw my keys or change or whatever I needed to keep in the car right there. But I do have a glove compartment, so I can always use that as well. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and probably just cut out this whole portion right there, and there will be no center pocket. It'll just be one solid piece. I think that should be okay. That way we'll have a good view of the cables as well, but I'll still be able to charge my phone and everything. So yeah, I'm just going to cut out the center portion right here. Okay, center portion is cut out. That's essentially what it would look like, but right here, the bottom arm is actually hitting the side, so I think I'm going to make a little window right there, at least so this can shift, because obviously you see that arm moves back and forth quite a bit, and as it sits OEM, I need a better tripod, so I can do 2 hands with this, but as it sits right there, you can see that everything lines up, but that's going to be hitting. I'm going to need to do a little window for that and make sure that it can actually activate and move how it should. Alright, so I ended up windowing it out on the side, and I know it looks really rough right now. I did a lot more of a cut than I needed to, but that's because once I have the sanding wheel, I want to kind of like blend it in so it doesn't have this like rough angle to it. You can notice right there. It does look kind of rough, but it still looks a lot better than not running it at all. And we have full range for every gear now. 5th, reverse, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So that should be perfect. Once I clean this up, I will be able to like bolt it on and do the final look of the interior. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video for right now. It's about 3:25 if I'm not mistaken. I go into work at 4 o'clock, so I gotta take a quick shower, get all clean, and get ready for work. But I will pick up the rest of the video later tonight once I am actually doing the cleaning up of the center console, as well as the final install and making sure that the car is ready to start and go for a test drive. Alright, skip forward later tonight. I am back in the car. I ended up just using a little flap disc to clean up the edges right there, and now I have full clearance on the side to side throw right there. I ended up having the wrong end on this cable as well, so I looked up exactly how the TSX shifter works, and I switched the end links for this side to the transmission cable side. I felt a little weird, so I switched it up and it's perfect now. But yeah, there she is installed. I already put the Phillips heads screws back into the corners of the plastics so we could have the mounting and whatnot of it. And it sits up a little bit higher at the bottom just because it doesn't sit 100% flush on the mounting plate, but that's completely fine. It doesn't look any different than OEM unless you're actually looking for it. That just sits a little lower in the factory, but that is completely fine right there. I really love the way that this looks. The billet piece just livens up the whole car. Now I have to clean up the steering side of it. I want to get a different steering wheel and get the cluster lights fixed. That way I don't have to run that light in the center of it, and then I think the interior will look a lot better. Eventually I want to clean up the carpet and get this wiring figured out so it's a lot cleaner on the passenger floorboard, but little by little it's really livening up the car. Now, like I said, this is the TSX/Accord shifter from K-Tuned onto an all-wheel drive B-Series transmission. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, reverse. Absolutely no issues getting into gear. This is the all-wheel drive B-Series billet transmission shifter box from K-Tuned. Alright, so under the engine bay, I have the shift cables already mounted and everything using the cotter pins that they come with as well. Everything is good to go on there. Just threw my starter back on as well as the wiring. Now I just got to put the map sensor and TPS sensor back on, the wiring for it at least, and then the intake can go back on, bumper can go back on, and the wheels as well, since I still have them off from when we did the transmission swap. So yeah, I'm just going to tidy that up real quick and we should be good to start her up tomorrow. So I just got the car back on the floor. Lug nuts and axle nuts are tightened since the transmission swap and whatnot. Everything's ready to go. The car should be ready to put the battery charger on and start it up tomorrow morning for this little cars and coffee event I want to go to. Before I do that, I wanted to find a nice spot to put the sticker. Obviously, there's like a dozen stickers right here. Whoever's making the stickers for K-Tune, you guys must have a fortune with all this business that K-Tune has given you guys. But I wanted to find a really nice spot. I actually tried on the front. I set a sticker right there. I tried one on the back. Wasn't too happy with how it looked. And I finally found this one spot right in the center of the windshield. I went ahead and set it right there. I'm just going to peel away the back of the sticker right now. I think it's going to look really good right there in the center. And it'll really captivate everybody's eye, just like the shifter does. Because, you know, sometimes we put stickers on our cars for parts that you don't really see. The K-Tune shifter is something that you definitely see with the car, and I feel like the sticker should be something that should just pop out like as soon as you look at the car itself. And that is pretty out there. I really like that placement right in the center of the bottom of the windshield. It's kind of hard to pick up on camera, but like in person it really pops at you since the car is a dark color and the white just like jumps at your face. So I love it right there. Alright, with the battery on charge right now, I just want to go through the gears, make sure that everything is nice, show you guys that in fact this shifter works perfectly for the gears. You start first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and reverse for when you want it. Once again, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and reverse. Pretty good. Alrighty guys, so if you reached this part of the video, I just want to say thank you for bearing with me. I know this install has been kind of all over the place in the sense of being by myself and having to do some stuff kind of off of camera. I like to do my installs a little more step by step, so I do apologize on that aspect. But thank you so much again to K-Tune, the whole team over there, especially Sean, who I've been emailing back and forth with for a couple months to get this shifter possible for the build. Huge thank you to you guys over there. I do have the banner already on the car. Or excuse me, the banner on the wall as well as the sticker on the car right there. Can't wait to put the shifter to use. Tomorrow morning I should be going to a Cars and Coffee event to actually not showcase the car, because it's not like I'm going to a show for Hondas. It's a lot of import or domestics here locally, not a lot of imports, but I still want to go enjoy the car. So it'll be cool for a nice little Sunday morning cruise and be able to have that beautiful billet piece in the inside. Huge eye candy. huge, great performance gain, and I can't wait to do some pulls with it. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys stay tuned for the next video once we are doing some pulls, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.